Thank you. Anybody asking Sean Payton about that? Anybody asking Andy Reid about stuff like that?
Well, Michael, Sean Payton and Andy Reid aren't 3-8 their last 11 playoff games. You've had a Hall of Fame quarterback your whole tenure in Pittsburgh. You've had Hall of Fame defenses your whole tenure in Pittsburgh. And what do you have to show for it? One Super Bowl. Conversely, if Bill Belichick was in your situation, he'd probably have 4 or 5 more Super Bowls than you. The bottom line, Mike, is you're not a good leader of men. Your way of leading men is letting your son play PlayStation with Juju Smith and the players. Being one of the guys. Letting Antonio Brown have the audacity and the comfortability to film you in the locker room while you're addressing the team going to New England the next week, talking about kicking New England's ass. And promptly, you got your ass kicked by New England by like 30 points. Mike Tomlin, the only reason you still have a job is because the Rooneys don't hire coaches. They hire 3 in my whole tenure, my whole lifetime. The only reason you still are coaching is because of your African-American heritage. Nobody can question Mike Tomlin because they are labeled as a racist if they do. If Mike McCarthy had a 3-8 playoff record his last 11 games, then let me remind you, losses to Baker Mayfield, Tim Tebow, Blake Bortles, and David Garrard, and should have lost to A.J. McCarron, they'd be all over him. But no one can question you, Michael. You are absolutely the most overrated coach ever. And if you were Caucasian, you would be getting ridiculed in the sports media right now. Well, this guy's 3-8 his last 11 playoff games. He just doesn't deliver. So, yes, Michael, that's why people are asking you, maybe it's time for you to go to college where you might be able to be more familiar with the players. Because the last time I checked, Bill Belichick's son, Steven, isn't playing PlayStation with N'Keal Henry, but he's coaching defense. That's what coaches' sons do. They don't play video games with the players on their team. See, Michael, you've allowed a culture of basically a circus in Pittsburgh. You've allowed Juju to dance on people's logos. You've allowed Claypool to go out there and call teams out. You've allowed it all to happen. You've allowed Antonio Brown to film you when you're talking about kicking the shit out of New England. You've allowed this attitude and everything to fester, and you have no culpability for it. You are the most overrated coach in NFL and probably sports history, because to have one Super Bowl, only one with all the talent you've had over the years, is a damn right crime. And to be 3-8 in playoff games, especially, you got to be embarrassed at home. Your teams have a history in the playoffs. I think Jacksonville was up 35 or 28-7 or 28-0 at one time. Cleveland was up 35-7 at halftime. Your team has a history of not being prepared to play in the playoffs. And for you to be beaten by Tim Tebow, the guy can make one fucking throw. That's it. One throw, the slant. That's all he can do. And for you to lose to that guy in the playoffs, Blake Bortles, David Garrard, and you were going to lose to A.J. McCarron. But you got the beneficiary of Joseph Porter going out on the field. A bunch of problems happened. You should have lost that game. So, Mike, 3-8 in the playoffs. You'll be in the Hall of Fame because you're African American. But if you were a white coach, you would be the laughing stock of. You would have been fired already. But Pittsburgh doesn't fire coaches, so you wouldn't have been fired. But you would be getting ridiculed on national media. Name another 3-8 coach in the playoffs, last 11, and not only the last 11 games 3-8, they're not even competitive. They just got embarrassed by the Chiefs again. Your playoff losses are just embarrassing. And I know Steeler fans that can't stand Tom. They want him gone. And I think it's time for Pittsburgh to actually move on to a better coach. Someone that holds their players accountable. In Pittsburgh, I would be that guy. I guarantee you one thing, I wouldn't have my son playing PlayStation with Juju Smith-Schuster. That's for a fact. I just think Mike Tomlin needs to accept the fact that he's a mediocre coach. He's done less with more than anyone in football history. I'm amazed that this guy gets a pass because of the color of his skin. Mike McCarthy would be getting killed with this type of numbers, 3-8 in his last 11 playoff games. And like I said, the team's not even competitive in them. It's just an embarrassment. How do you let the Cleveland Browns go in there and destroy you in the playoffs? How does that happen? I'll tell you that happens. That's because Mike Tomlin doesn't know how to prepare his teams. And one has to wonder, if Mike Tomlin wasn't coaching the Steelers, how many more Super Bowls they would have had if they would have had, say, anybody outside of Mike Tomlin coaching. I know one thing. Blake Bortles wouldn't have beat you. Baker Mayfield wouldn't have beat you. Tim Tebow definitely wouldn't have beat you. Neither would David Garrard. These are debilitating. Oh, but he's never had a losing season. He's never had a losing season. Well, you played the Browns and the Bengals 4 games in them years. That's basically 3 wins right there. So you get 3 wins allotted to you every season out of 4 games. So you got 12 games to win what? 5 games out of 12? You can go 5-7? Doesn't take a genius to figure out. You have an easy opponent schedule when you have Cleveland and Cincinnati throughout them years. So those are 3 wins guaranteed. Maybe 4. I know it was 2 against Cleveland, probably 4. So that's half your wins, basically. And without Cleveland and Cincinnati, I think I looked up his record. It's like 500. It's not a good coach. So, Michael, and I know you'll see this video, you are the most overrated coach in sports history. And it's a shame. You'll go down in the Hall of Fame, but if people really peel back the layers and look at it, and if people weren't afraid to voice their opinion, because right now I'll be labeled as a fucking racist. Look at that bald guy talking about Mike Tomlin. He's fucking racist. He's fucking racist. If people weren't scared to be labeled a racist, even though I'm not, but I just call it like it is, you are the worst coach I've ever seen. You truly are. Good coaches don't get humiliated in playoffs. They don't go 3-8 their last 11 playoff things. Not with a Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame defense every year. It doesn't happen, Michael. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a class organization, and they deserve better. And right now, you're not even a top. Honestly, as bad as Kevin Stefanski is, I hate to say he's better than you. He's better than you. So, Mike Tomlin, do the Steelers fan a favor. Resign. Because you're just hurting that team. You're just hurting that team severely. And I think everybody knows it.